What if Marshall Mathers, better known as Eminem, was dragged into court not for what he did in real life, but for what he said in his songs?
Am I worried about the interview? Yeah, no, good. No, good.
If you've ever listened to the Marshall Mathers LP, you know that Eminem really sets himself apart from the rest. The controversial wordsmith has been shocking audiences for over 2 decades, and it did make me wonder, what if every violent bar, every criminal confession, every twisted scenario Eminem ever rapped about was actually true? What if Marshall walked into a police station tomorrow with his entire discography and said, "Yeah, I did all of this"? How long would Slim Shady be locked up? So today, we're opening up what I'm calling the Slim Shady case files, a comprehensive investigation into every prosecutable offense hidden in M's extensive catalog. And trust me, we're going to need a bigger filing cabinet. But hey, before we crack open the evidence bag, make sure you hit subscribe and smash that like button, because what you're about to hear might just be the most insane legal breakdown of Eminem's career ever imagined. Stick around, because trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming.
You know what I'm saying?
Now, quick disclaimer, this is purely for entertainment. I'm not a lawyer, these aren't real confessions, and Eminem hasn't actually committed these crimes. This is about exploring that fascinating line between artistic expression and hypothetical criminality. Let's start with the big one, murder in the first degree. The evidence? Well, where do we even begin? In Kim, Eminem describes in graphic detail a scenario involving his ex-wife. And this isn't a one-off theme. Similar violent scenarios appear in Kill You, Criminal, and about a dozen other tracks. But here's where it gets even darker. In 97 Bonnie and Clyde, he doesn't just reference the act itself, he describes disposing of evidence with his daughter present. That's murder plus tampering with evidence plus child endangerment. A prosecutorial trifecta. Under federal law, first-degree murder carries a mandatory life sentence without parole, or potentially the death penalty. But here's the thing. Eminem doesn't just confess to one hypothetical murder. By my count, across his discography, he's implicated himself in at least 17 separate incidents. So that's 17 life sentences. Already we're looking at, well, forever. But we're just getting started.
I'm not going to be able to continue.
Next up, aggravated assault and domestic violence. Let's start with the domestic violence charges. Kim is essentially a play-by-play of domestic violence and spousal assault. If taken as confession, the lyrics describe physical violence against an intimate partner, acts that carry severe penalties.
So not that pretty awesome.
He's wrote in the songs about me. I don't appreciate them being played around our children, and I'm sure it doesn't set a good example for him, especially, letting them believe that it's okay for a man to disrespect you like that in any way is not acceptable to me.
Under federal law, domestic violence resulting in serious bodily injury can carry up to 10 years per incident.
Marshall, when you did that?
Yeah, sorry. Live TV.
But the violence doesn't stop at home. The man literally has a song called Brain Damage, where he describes schoolyard violence. In The Way I Am, he references physical altercations with fans. Soldier contains multiple references to violent confrontations. Under Michigan law, where Eminem is from, aggravated assault is a felony punishable by up to 1 year in prison per count. Conservative estimate? Based on the lyrics, we're looking at approximately 23 separate assault charges, plus at least 5 domestic violence incidents. That's 23 years for assault, plus 50 years for domestic violence. 73 years total. You would think that would be it, right?
Yeah, buddy.
Oh no, we're just warming up. Moving on to drug manufacturing and distribution. In Purple Pills, D12, there are explicit references to drug distribution and consumption.
You kind of so.
My Fault from the Slim Shady LP contains a detailed story about giving mushrooms to someone at a party, resulting in an overdose. Drug Ballad describes various controlled substances and their use in social settings. Federal drug trafficking charges vary wildly, but distribution of controlled substances typically carries 5 to 40 years depending on the substance and quantity. Being conservative and assuming mid-level charges, we're looking at about 15 years per offense, with at least 6 to 8 clear references to distribution across his catalog. That's 90 to 120 years. Still counting? Kidnapping and false imprisonment. Here's where it gets really dark.
You know what I'm saying?
3 a.m. describes scenarios of forcible detention. Stay Wide Awake contains similar themes. Buffalo Bill. I mean, the title alone tells you where that one's going. These aren't just fleeting mentions. They're detailed narratives. Federal kidnapping charges carry a minimum of 20 years, potentially life. Let's say 20 years per incident. And I count at least 6 distinct scenarios across his work. Add another 120 years to the tally. And we haven't even touched on illegal weapons possession and firearm violations. Criminal, soldier, darkness. The man references firearms more often than a Texas gun show catalog. And not just possession, we're talking about using them in commission of other felonies, which dramatically increases sentences.
You'll never catch me!
Illegal firearm possession alone is 5 to 10 years federal. Using a firearm during a violent crime, that's an additional 10-year mandatory minimum. Conservative count, 15 separate violations. That's another 225 years minimum. Oh, and here's one that might surprise you. Threats against government officials. Remember White America or Mosh, The Ringer? And this one Freestyle, where calls out and insults government figures? Yeah, threatening government officials is a federal offense carrying up to 5 years per incident. Let's add another 15 years for good measure. So let's add this all up. Murder, 17 life sentences. Let's call it 1,700 years for calculation purposes. Assault, 73 years. Drug trafficking, 120 years. Kidnapping, 120 years. Weapons charges, 225 years. Threats, 15 years. Total, 2,253 years. That's roughly the amount of time since Julius Caesar was assassinated. That's how long Slim Shady would be behind bars if his lyrics were confessions.
I've thought about suicide more than 800 times.
But here's the thing, and this is what makes Eminem such a fascinating case study. He's always been transparent about the line between Marshall Mathers and his alter egos. The entire Slim Shady persona is a deliberate exploration of our darkest impulses, a theatrical exaggeration that forces us to confront uncomfortable truths about violence, mental health, and American culture. So while Slim Shady might deserve 2 millennia in prison, Marshall Mathers, he's just an artist holding up a mirror to society. And sometimes, we don't like what we see staring back. What's your take? Should controversial art face more restrictions, or is absolute creative freedom essential? Drop your thoughts in the comments and hit that subscribe button if you want more hypothetical legal breakdowns. Next week, we're assessing Tyler, the creator's early Goblin era. And trust me, those numbers might be even more shocking. Have another artist in mind we should put on trial? Let us know below, and remember, this is all hypothetical analysis for educational purposes. Keep it legal out there.
Thanks for having me.